I whip Christ. I whip Christ. I whip Christ. I whip Christ. Whip Christ. I 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 whip Christ, whip Christ. I whip Christ, whip Christ, whip Christ. I whip Christ, whip Christ. I whip Christ, whip Christ. I whip Christ. I whip Christ, 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 whip Christ. I whip Christ.
I whip Christ cause I was in a spiritual orphanage. I was lost without him, going straight to hell, you dig? I know I needed to change like Obama, but I fled from God's words. You couldn't find me like Osama. Kept ducking and dodging, but I kept on sobbing. My heart was getting colder than basket and robins. Ain't care about church, I ain't give God honor. Her preaching all week because the pastor is my mama. My parents pointed me in the right direction, but in school it ain't cool to be a Christian. I lean to my left, then to my right. Man, this is hard. Do me or do Christ? Well, at least that's what I thought back then, until I read that I'm saved by His life, Romans 5:10. I switched from my old ways in my old life. I have the vision till I lift my head up to the sky.
I whip Christ, whip Christ. 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 I whip Christ. I whip Christ. I whip Christ, 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 whip Christ. I whip Christ. I
rip him cause he got ripped, kick split, his blood drip. But the unfit was in the grave, but on the third dip. Death couldn't stop him, the grave couldn't pin him. Satan had to back down, Christ had too much momentum. The birds sing praise, the ocean does the wave. The mountains give a shake and the trees give him praise. His power fills the earth from east to the west. One blink of his eye will cause an avalanche. His glory's massive, the earth can't contain him. In fact, he uses stars just as his doormat. The sun has to get permission just to set. The valleys of the field bow down in respect. I serve Adonai, the true living God. The Lord, He is God.
1 Kings 8:39.
I'm forever gonna rock the rock about salvation and boldly preach Christ to every race and every nation.
I whip Christ, whip Christ. 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 I whip Christ. I whip Christ, 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 whip Christ. I whip Christ.
I'm redeemed, I rip the King who bore my sins on a tree called Calvary. His blood spilled for all of humanity. For the black, white, Arabs and your Asians, Latinos, Filipinos, Australians and Jamaicans. For every nationality and every race, Christ the sacrificial lamb died in the place. We've been bought with blood, there is no greater love than this. God purchased the worthless, we don't deserve this. I give Him my service, my purpose is His service. I stay in His word even after church service. I rep Him in church and out of church and in the streets. I'm preaching with my life and not just over beats. When the music stops, I'm still preaching pops. Still bragging on how Jesus Christ holds the top spot. I don't praise myself, there's no glory in that. I don't seek the spotlight, cause Christ got that.
I whip Christ, whip Christ. 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 I whip Christ. I whip Christ, 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 whip Christ. I 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 whip.